All right, it's a beautiful Monday the 30th of January 2023. It's so good to have you join us on the show this morning, Spring Trends, where we bring you who's trending, what is trending, why they are trending, and what people are saying about the who, the what, and the why. Very quickly, my name is Emmanuel Ojadegele. Once again, welcome to the show. You can follow this conversation on all our social media handles, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, as displayed on your screen. Now, let me show you what has been happening all over social media in the course of last week. We begin in Lagos very quickly. There's a change in the price of a particular union, and that's the Vulcanizer Association of Lagos. They've changed the price in their services. So if you have a car and you live in Lagos, this is what your new price list will look like. All right, so you can see there, you can see all the things that they have there on the list. Lagos State Vulcanizers Association new price list. So the next time you're in Lagos, you need to change your tires. You need to do some other things that have to do with your tires. This is how much you'll be paying. And then very quickly from the vulcanizers, we'll move over to fuel queues. All over the country, queues are elongating, and something is beginning to happen at all of these fuel queues. We have called it the rain of blows. Let me show you some of the videos, two of the videos coming up from petrol stations in Nigeria. You can see right there in front of an ambulance, two persons beating themselves to stupor. And I'm sure the ambulance also came to buy petrol. Government, please solve the petrol crisis before it becomes way too much and unstoppable. And again, the last video I want to show is a video that was submitted by a random Twitter user saying that this video is the wardrobe of a daughter of the former governor of Zamfara State. We'll take a very quick look at that video and show you how a wardrobe looks like. Video ne kin ga iko Allah yanzu na kawai da wannan kawai da shi ne da ko abin ma baban zara ai ko ni baba amma daki ne ta mai da shi haka amma yayi kyau wurin soki wai Allah shi ne nace salamu da a fara jin kai a hido da babu dai na Zamfara a wannan alƙur'ani sai kan mu a daidai mu na Zamfara Salma wannan goyi wura aka suka ciro su a tiya ne da shiga abu kamar kanti shine ne tana ba Oh well, so you can see in that video, one of the women was asking if that's a wardrobe or a boutique. Well, we cannot say if she used her father's money when he was governor to build that wardrobe or if it's her money. Anyway, it's good for her that she wears very good things. If you have the money, why not do it? But make sure it's not people's money. Make sure it's the money that you've gotten legitimately. Now let's go straight to the trends this morning. We'll begin here in Osun State. Last week Friday, Tribunal Election Petitions Tribunal removed Governor Ademola Adeleke and said that former Governor Gboyega Oyetola won that election. But mind you, pending the resolution of the appeal, and of course it will terminate at the Supreme Court, Governor Ademola Adeleke still remains governor. I'm sure a lot of persons have been asking that question. So we'll go to Facebook and take 5 of the comments that we have on there on Facebook. Those are the two men that are trending right now. Former Governor Gboyega Oyetola and current Governor Ademola Adeleke. Wale Alabi says, in 2018, former Governor Oyetola was a defendant. He lost to Adeleke, the petitioner at the tribunal, but later won at other higher courts. Today, Adeleke as a defendant equally loses at tribunal to former Governor Oyetola, who stands in as petitioner. Whoever that wins at the appellate courts, most importantly the Supreme Court, will be the governor. It is too early for either of the camps to laugh or cry. Free Mandate Olatunji Abido says, as it stands, the fate of Osun PDP and Ademola Adeleke hangs in the balance and the outcome of the 2023 presidential election. Prince Olukoga Kayode has quite a lot to say. Says, this is bad and not good at all for democracy. It happened the first time and now again the second time. It was very glaring that the people of Osun voted Adeleke, and even to the extent of them tearing his poster or banner then and saying they are tired of the then APC. Now, because he exposed the funds that was moved and probably missing, then this Is it not the same party in Lagos? Their agents went around with over 100 PVCs of people conversing for election with 500 naira, and now Adeleke is guilty. I'm sorry for this country, the youth, and the kind of leaders we have. Next comment is from Ubaken, says, whenever the judiciary rules against APC, then the judiciary is the best thing ever. When they rule against the opposition, our judiciary becomes the worst thing ever. We should detach our emotion from politics. Emotions doesn't win election. And the last comment says, Uchendu Ikechukwu Kingsley says, this is purely subversion and travesty of justice to undermine the people's will and choice. The judiciary is the last phase of this country that needs autonomy and sanitization to stop monetization of judgment. Well, that's that on that story. We'll move over to another incident that happened yesterday. My favorite person in the world, Mephi Baby, governor of the Central Bank, Godwin Emefiele, has bowed to pressure, and they've increased the deadline. They've extended the deadline, rather, for the collection cash swap deadline that was supposed to end tomorrow, 31st. It has now been extended to February 10th to allow for the collection of more old notes. That's what the central bank has done. So let's see how people have reacted, particularly on Facebook this morning. We'll start with Saleh Garbatoro. He said, this is bad news to me because we have already suffered all these days to wait until the 31st, which we expected by then every ATM point would have new Naira currency. But look at it now, we're back to square one, and this bank will still not make the new notes available. God is watching. Kazim Afolabi says, good to listen to people's demand. The new notes are not available in banks and their ATMs. Inside the bank counters, they still paid out old notes on Friday, and some businesses had started refusing old notes since Sunday. Under the pretense of being independent, CBN is making life difficult for many Nigerians. INEC is also independent, but many times they listen to people by extending registration collection of voters' cards. If CBN makes the new note available, no one will care when they will stop accepting the old one. CBN should stop being arrogant. Wisdom Michael says, great decision by the federal government. I hope the naysayers can now rest and support the government's sometimes harmless policies simultaneously. Emefiele and Buhari mean well with the Naira design conversion, but for the culture of political statement and mischief, negative meanings would be interpreted. Okoro Emmanuel says, anyone who couldn't deposit his or her money, no matter the distance from the bank, has himself to blame. It's now that APC politicians have people's well-being at heart. When they were impoverishing the masses, they didn't know criminals. The last comment on that issue, Ejiofor David Nzebuchukwu says, I regret taking Emefiele serious. I stopped work for 3 days now as a transporter, waiting for when the money will circulate properly. The extension has defeated the purpose of the redesign. Someone must have bribed the CBN governor. And from there, we'll move over to INEC. INEC has also extended the deadline for the collection of PVCs. INEC is always extending. We'll have to give it to Professor Mahmoud Yakubu. But let me tell you that the House of Representatives is against the extension of the deadline by the CBN. They're saying that CBN has to extend further before February 10, and is saying that Godwin Emefiele, Mephi Baby, will be arrested if he fails to show up to, the summons that has been given. Now, INEC has extended deadline again from 27th of January to February the 5th. That's by another 1 week. Now let's go and see what people are saying. Nkem Forever says, please audit your records. There must not be any unprinted cards. Students should also be allowed to pick up their cards until election eve. They must not be punished because of the inefficiencies in the system, which, even though it's not your fault, isn't theirs either. Tefa Hemen says, good job, INEC. This is very commendable. Nigerians, once again, it is in your hand to make the little sacrifice to get your PVC. Do not wait till it's 24 hours for the exercise to end, then start rushing. Mimi of Peter Obi says, please reprimand Una staff lagging behind. Those who misplace cards, those who don't search well before saying your card is not here. Also extend PVC collection the more. Students will start traveling home so they can still have small time to collect their PVCs. Ogwaboy Menike says, at INEC Nigeria, please appeal to the federal government to declare a 1 week break to enable students go home and collect their PVCs. Please treat as very urgent and in the national interest. The last comment, Commissioner of Violence says, INEC Nigeria, nice move, but you should print our voters' cards and strictly checkmate the collection. Some of your staff are compromised and they are making the process difficult. You are yet to arrest any of them. Before we end the show this morning, we'll take the last story. Now, over the weekend, a spokesperson of the APC's Presidential Campaign Council in Lagos State, Mr. Ayodele, I'll use that name for him, was on Arise Television to grant an interview. And he was asked about the bullion vans that ran into, you know, that went into the residence, the Bodilon residence of the presidential candidate of the APC, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, at the 2019 presidential election. Those 2 billion vans were seen going into the house. But now this man went on Arise TV and gave an explanation for that. Let's see the explanation.
We should investigate that matter and we take it on from there. On the other question of the bullion van or no bullion van and all of that, I think that matter has been put to rest. There was no money in the bullion van. The bullion van that even came missed the address to have come there. Okay. It missed the address to have come there, and that was why the bullion van was...
But why was bullion van moving on election day? I thought there was supposed to be no movement.
No, it was not an election day. It was not. It was Rufai. It was. I was in that house on that very day.
Was the day before
it
election?
Was not an election.
So it was the day before election. But
it was
bullion van moving
the
everywhere?
bullion van missed the address to have come there.
Okay. I thought your presidential candidate had actually said that what's people's business with how he spends money.
I watched it. He said that jokingly. Okay. It was a joking statement.
So the bullion van
the same way Mr. Dangote said that when he wanted to authenticate and get his mindset that truly he has money, he went to cash 1 million naira, brought it to his house, sat and looked at his money and returned it to the bank.
No, but I just want to get this right. You said the bullion van missed its way to come into the place.
Yes.
But that place is not a known bank, or was it a bank? I just want to get to the root of it.
There are some companies that have high staff that pay their...
Well, very interesting there. So the bullion vans missed the address from the banks or wherever they were going to, and suddenly the only place they could enter was Tinubu's residence. Let's see how people have reacted to that on social media. Adiola Fayeun says, the bullion vans didn't make a U-turn in his compound though. They went in and parked. Very interesting. Aderon Keige says, the way these people insult our intelligence by not even dignifying us with intelligent lies, they deserve to be arraigned for public scolding, because what in the name of Balablu is this moronic explanation? Om says 3 things. 1, the bullion van missed its way. 2, it was empty. 3, there are companies that paid their staff in cash. Questions. 1, who gave it access into the premises? 2, how did you know it was empty when it's not even yours? 3, how can a company pay their staff from an empty van? Man of Letter says 2 bullion vans missed their way and entered a private residence on the eve of the 2019 presidential election. Nigeria is not a real place. Town Hall, different from Bulaba, says, every day somebody appears and makes a mess of Tinubu's reputation. On today's episode of the Absurd Tales of Tinubu, Ayodele Adewale has shown that Tinubu is not very good at sporting good brains. 2 bullion vans missed their way to Bodilon. How? Toluwani says, the bullion van drivers, while driving to Tinubu's house, they were blindfolded, so they didn't know where they were going to. Prince Adesina says, yes, the bullion van lost its control, and the driver deserves an award for deeming it fit to direct its way from hurting or causing accident that could be brutal. If my claims is false, you can reach out to the driver. I spoke to the driver myself, and I believe in his word. SK Kabiru says, it's getting clearer. Tinubu mistakenly shared a house with drug dealers. 2, bullion vans mistakenly found their way into Tinubu's house on the eve of the elections. 3, we mistook Tinubu's Bulabai for a gaffe instead of a foreign language. Yeah, it's getting pretty clear. But that's where we end the show this morning. I would love to have a bullion van mistakenly enter my house. Let me see if I can get some billions of naira from the bullion van. But we end the show on that note this morning. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media handles displaying on your screen. My name is Emmanuel Ojadegele. You can follow me on Twitter at EM Ojadegele, on Facebook, Emmanuel Ojadegele, on Instagram, Ima Ojadegele. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a lovely Monday.